Welcome, boys and girls. We're back at the Sunday School Hour, and we're going to take a look at how God has a plan for our path, and we have a video to show you. So go ahead and take a look at this video.
Welcome, race fans.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
No one told you?
Told me what? We aren't running, are we?
Well,
I'm not running anywhere.
Today's story does include running. Not us, but Jacob running from his brother Esau.
Yeah, the story is in Genesis chapters 25, 27, and 28.
And really, the story is not about racing, but how God has a path for us that he wants us to run.
Have you ever been really hungry and it made you cranky?
Would you want to eat this burger? Okay, I haven't eaten since like breakfast, so this burger looks really good to me. Or what about these?
Yes, but too much sugar.
Evelyn, all right, then how about this?
Oh yes,
That's
fresh fruit.
That's
Yum.
healthy, that's good for us. So maybe we can meet in the middle and both share a piece of this.
Oh, that would be nice. Yes, I love pizza.
What food would you want to eat if you could eat anything in the world right now?
That pizza looks pretty good.
I agree.
Yes, that's one of my favorites. So, boys and girls, what would you trade for that food? Would you trade your favorite toy, or maybe all the money that you have you might trade for some of that food when you get really, really hungry? So today we're going to hear about someone from the Bible who made a mistake and traded something when he was really hungry. And he made a trade he should not have made. Mistakes do have consequences, which means something we don't want to happen can happen. God had a bigger plan for the people in our Bible story today, even when they made mistakes.
So let's go ahead and take a look at our Bible lesson and watch this video.
Hi everybody. Today we are going to talk about a covenant, which is like a promise, and twins, specifically God's promise to Abraham. And the twins are Abraham's grandsons, Jacob and Esau. Our story is found in the first book of the Bible, Genesis, and chapters 25, 27, and 28. God made some pretty big promises to Abraham, and God continually proved that he fulfills what he says he will do. One of those promises is Abraham and Sarah's son, Isaac. That is where we jump to the story. Isaac is now grown up and has a wife, Rebecca. Now, Rebecca was unable to have children of her own, and Isaac had learned from his father, Abraham, that if he prayed to God, God might answer his prayer. Guess what? God answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebecca became pregnant. While she was pregnant, something strange was going on. Rebecca became worried, so she asked God about it. God told Rebecca that she was going to have two babies, twins, and that the twins were very different from one another. He said, one of your children will lead a group of people that is stronger than the other, and the oldest child will serve the younger. When the twins were born, the first was named Esau because he was so hairy, and then the other twin was born with his hand on Esau's heel, so they called him Jacob, which means grabber. As the boys grew, they liked doing different things. Esau became a skillful hunter and loved the outdoors, but Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Isaac favored Esau, while Rebekah favored Jacob. One day, Jacob made some of his amazing stew, which everyone liked. Earlier that morning, Esau went hunting, and he became very, very hungry. As soon as Esau got home, he said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of your stew. I'm starving." Jacob replied, "First, give me your birthright." In Jacob and Esau's time, when the parents died, the oldest child would get double the inheritance that all the other children would receive. This was called birthright, and it was a big deal. Esau was so hungry, and instead of keeping his birthright, he said, "You can have my birthright, just please give me some food." Time passed, and more time passed. As Isaac grew much older, he wasn't able to see anymore. Before he died, Isaac wanted to give his oldest son a special blessing. This blessing was the promise that God had promised to Isaac's father, Abraham, and now Isaac was going to pass it on to his son, Esau. Isaac loved the food that Esau hunted. He told Esau to go hunt and prepare a special meal, and then he would give Esau the blessing. However, Rebekah overheard Isaac talking to Esau, and she had another plan. She went to Jacob and said, "Listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go to the flock and get me the 2 best young goats. I'll make a hearty meal, the kind that your father loves. Then you can take it to your father, he'll eat it, and give you the blessing instead of Esau." Jacob replied, "But Mom, Esau is a hairy man. What if Dad touches me and realizes that I'm tricking him?" His mother said to him, "Don't worry, you can wear Esau's clothes and we'll put goat hair on your hands and neck." So they did just that, and Jacob went to see his father, pretending to be Esau. "Hello, father," Jacob said. His father asked, "Hello, who is this?" Jacob lied. "It is me, Esau. I have brought you the food you wanted so that you can give me my blessing. Come closer so I can touch you and know that you are really my oldest son Esau," said his father. So Jacob went to Isaac, and he felt Jacob's hands and said, "You sound just like Jacob, but your hands are just like Esau. Are you really Esau?" And Jacob lied again, "I am." So Isaac ate the meal. When he was done, he said, "Come and kiss me." Because Jacob was wearing his brother's clothes, his father believed that he was giving the blessing to Esau. Just as Jacob was walking away, Esau entered the tent with the food he made for his father. Isaac asked, "Who are you?" Confused, Esau said, "It's me, your firstborn, Esau. I'm here to get my blessing." "I just gave you your blessing." Both Isaac and Esau realized what had happened. Esau wasn't very happy. "Twice now, Jacob has tricked me. First, he took my birthright, and now my blessing." Then Rebekah told Jacob to run and go to Haran, where her brother Laban lived. She instructed him to stay there until his brother had calmed down. "I'll send for you when it's safe to come back home," she said. So Jacob left Beersheba and headed toward Haran. He camped there for the night and had a dream. In his dream, he saw stairways set on the ground, reaching all the way to the sky, and angels were going up and down. Then Jacob heard God speak, "I am God, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. I'm giving the ground on which you are sleeping to you and your offspring. Your descendants will stretch from west to east and from north to south, and the families of the earth will be blessed through you. I'll stay with you and protect you wherever you go, and I'll bring you back to this very ground. I'll stick with you until I've done everything I have promised to you." And after Jacob woke up, he made a promise to God. "If you stand by me and protect me during this journey on which I'm setting out, providing me food and clothing, and bring me back in one piece to my father's house, you will be my God."
All right, Miss Evelyn, so can you help us remember who Isaac was?
Yes, okay. So God promised to bless Abraham and Sarah with a child, and Isaac was their son, and he grew up and married Rebekah. And she had twin boys, Jacob and Esau. Our Bible story today is about the brothers' relationship and God's bigger plan for them.
Yes, and when Rebekah was pregnant, God told her about those 2 children that she had in her womb, and he said that within her, they were going to be very different boys growing up. He said that one of the children will lead a big group of people and be a great, strong nation, and the other one, who was older, was going to serve the younger. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that he might have made.
Okay, so he traded his birthright for a bowl of stew. Can you believe that?
What?
He must have been very hungry to trade something so important. But trading his birthright wasn't his only mistake. The birthright wasn't as important to Esau as it should have been. Now, Miss Sue, will you tell the kids about a birthright?
Well, that's a word we don't use a lot right now. So it's supposed to be for the firstborn son in a family. And it meant that he would inherit or be given all of the possessions that his father owned, and he'd receive a special blessing from his father.
Yes, and you know what? Jacob made a mistake and took matters into his own hands and persuaded his brother to trade the birthright. Then he tricked their father Isaac to get their father's blessing by disguising himself as his brother Esau. Jacob's choices had consequences. He hurt his relationship with his brother and his father also. He got the birthright and the blessing, but he had to live with that for a long time, with a broken relationship between his brother and his father.
Well, you remember that Jacob had a dream though, right?
Yes, yes. And remember that in that dream there was a stairway and a ladder reaching up to heaven. And God made a promise to always be with him and his family and to watch over them and to bless him and give him many children. So, and he was going to bless the nations through his family. Even though Jacob made mistakes that had consequences, God was still with him and kept his promises to his family. Now, Miss Sue, did God have a plan for Esau and Jacob?
Well, absolutely. God always keeps his promises, and he promised to bless them and to bless the nations that were coming through them. God had a plan for him, even when it seemed like their mistakes that they made just really messed things up. But even when things seem unfair or when we make mistakes, just remember that God has a bigger plan and he can work that all out.
That's right. So boys and girls, do you ever wonder if your mistakes or your setbacks that you experience would mess up something that God has planned for you? Let's check out this video to see what our friends learned about the impact of setbacks and the power of God.
Hey everybody, we're here with Miss Courtney, and she likes running, like marathon running.
Yeah, I know, right? Pretty crazy. But Abby, didn't you run cross country?
Yeah, but that's not a marathon.
True, a marathon's a little bit longer. Do either of you know how long a marathon actually is?
Like 3.5 miles?
Actually, it's 26.2 miles.
Do you have one of those stickers on your car?
Actually, I don't.
I'm never gonna get one of those. How do you prepare to run that far?
Well, it's not like you just jump off your couch and start running. I have a coach who makes out a plan for me, and you start with little runs that turn into eventually really long runs.
So when running a marathon, what happens if you mess up or something happens?
Well, that's a really good question because see, in long distance running, it's really about the long game. But you can't let those little mistakes distract you from your plan. It's a lot like life. God has a plan, a big plan, bigger than any of ours.
But what if I make a mistake or mess up God's plan?
Well, God's plan is so big that if you or I make a mistake, it doesn't mess God up. He cares for us, each of us, and he wants us to be a part of his plan. He wants us to win, but his plan is going to happen regardless of how well we run. It's important to remember, just like Jacob and Esau, that even when we make mistakes or fail, God can still use us. In fact, I guess it's more of a when we make mistakes than an if.
Yeah, that's always good to remember.
When you train for a marathon, you build trust in that training and in your plan for the race. When I was running the marathon, I made a plan for how I would nourish my body and keep my energy up during the race. But about mile 20, that totally fell apart. But we can trust God's plan much more than any plan we could ever come up with. We just have to keep running one foot in front of the other.
Awesome, thanks so much for talking to us, Miss Courtney.
Absolutely. Now, did you guys want to go on a run?
No thanks.
No, but can I see your marathon medal, please?
Sure.
Okay, so no matter what the setback or the mistake that was made, we can know that we can trust God because he is at work to carry out his plan for each of you. We can remember that his plan is always bigger. Now, we have a little fun things Miss Sue and I are going to do, and you all can watch us. Well, you know, Jacob's made the stew with the help of his mother.
Yes.
And so we are going to cut up some vegetables, and we're going to have a race to see if Miss Sue cuts faster or if Miss Evelyn can cut them faster. So you all can start deciding who do you think will be the winner.
See you in a minute.
Okay, so we're back, boys and girls, and we're ready to start. As you can see, we have the same amount of vegetables, and I'm going to say,
Do you have the same? Okay.
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
on your mark, get set, go. Oops. All right, I can't let Miss Sue beat me. I gotta hurry.
Kind of fast.
I'm pretty fast. I do a lot of cutting of vegetables.
What are you doing over there?
Good, good.
Okay.
I'm still cutting.
Okay. Keep cutting.
Okay.
How you doing over there?
I'm good. I'm doing good.
Okay, I'm done.
Hey.
See, look at all the stuff I
You
got.
couldn't be done yet.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
I still have
I
all
won.
of this left to do.
What? Oh, I'm
See,
sorry.
you can't be done yet.
Oh, well.
Sue must have tricked me somehow.
I'm sorry.
Did Miss Sue trick me?
I didn't mean to, but I wanted to win really bad.
Obviously.
I don't know. Can you?
Did she cheat?
No. Well, kinda. Not too bad. Just a little.
Not
bit.
too bad.
No, just a little bit.
Okay. Well, boys and girls,
Oh. How do you feel about that, though? I kind of liked winning.
I'm sad because I lost, and I'm really good at cutting vegetables.
All right. Well, can you forgive me? I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry.
I will, but you know that's a sin when you trick
Yes.
people like that. God doesn't like that.
I will. I don't have. Can you forgive me?
I
And then
can forgive
I will ask God
you.
to forgive me too.
Yes, so we will be friends again.
I'll share my stew with you.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good.
All right.
All right.
So, have you ever been tricked by somebody else or treated unfairly? And you felt how?
Yes, sad. And you know what? Sometimes we even want to get back at people.
It's true.
Yeah, it's very sad, but that's how we feel because it hurts us. And we question if that someone that hurt us is trustworthy. And it makes us feel sad and when people treat us unfairly.
Right. There's a lot of different places that can happen too. Like, say for instance, you're on the playground and say that you were trying to get to the slide first and you were almost there, and then somebody butt right in line, right in front of you, and you're like, that's not very fair, but it happens, right? How do you feel? You feel like either you want to get back with them or you could just let them go. It's hard, but
Yes.
sometimes you just let them be first in line
That's right.
and just let that go. There's also at school, maybe in a setting where it could be at home school or it could be at school, and you raise your hand first because you know the answer to the question, and the teacher calls on the other person first, and you had your hand up first, and it makes you feel like it's not fair, or it doesn't work into what you were hoping. So that's hard.
Yes.
And then the other one would be maybe you're at home, right? And how do you think, what would happen at home that would make you feel like you had been hurt, or what could happen?
Well, sometimes I know we might feel like we get asked to do more chores than our brother or our sisters do, maybe because we're older, or because maybe sometimes we can do the dishes better than someone else, and sometimes we feel like our parents might be asking us to do more chores than our siblings.
So can our mistakes, because maybe we don't handle that right, can that mess up God's plan with what He's trying to do for us?
No, it's not going to mess up our plans, what God has in store for us, because even when we make mistakes, God's plan is always bigger. He can use us to help other people, and we can trust that God has a plan for us and a path for us. Now, this week, our memory verse reminds us that we can trust God to lead us in His path. So it's in Proverbs 3:5, and I think it's been up here on so I'm reading out of the New American Standard. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. So this week, work on that Proverbs and see if you can memorize it. It's on your papers that you'll be getting. It's a great proverb. And those of you boys and girls that are older and can read the Bible yourself, start working on reading a proverb every day. I know Pastor Carl mentions that to us to read Proverbs every day. So this Sunday, let's see, is November 1st. So start on the first chapter of Proverbs and read as much as you can.
Perfect.
And I think that would be a great way to grow in our walk with the Lord.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Miss Sue has some crafts that she's going to show us over here.
Okay,
And all the materials will be in your bag.
That's right. Let's move to the craft table. Hey, good boys and girls, we're back at the craft table. And today, because we were talking about Jacob and Esau, the two brothers, as you read through it, you're going to recognize that they said that Jacob was kind of smooth-skinned and Esau was really hairy. And so we decided we're going to make a beard for like Esau would have had. So in your thing, you're going to have, they're going to give you a plate, and they're going to give you it's going to be a whole sheet of brown paper probably for this beard. And then you're going to get 2 rubber bands. And so we'll have those in there. And there's one here. I cut a mouth out of this one because I kind of thought that'd be fun. You don't have to, though, so you can do it this way. So I'm going to take this off so I can speak a little better. Okay. And I'll show you what I did on both of them. So the only thing you want to do on the plate that comes is you might want to cut a little bit of a divot so that your nose can stick out of it. Otherwise, it's really hard to wear. So if you just cut like a little notch out of it, you can do it, or you can have your mom help. It doesn't matter. And then you're just going to use it so that the rounded side is out. Okay, so this is the side we want. We're going to lay that down. In your packet, just go ahead and you can either cut your paper in half, however you want to do it. I just cut strips like this. And I cut a whole bunch of them all at one time. And then I went ahead and took these long strips and cut them in, made 2 cuts. So I got 2 cuts, but I got 3 stacks of them, which really went a long way. So then you're just going to take either a glue stick or your tacky glue, or you can even use tape. I had to use tape a little bit on the first row, because if your glue doesn't stick, you want to do that. So I put some glue like this, and then you just start at the end and just leave it a little bit over the edge for that first row. And then you're just going to overlap them, and you're just going to stick them on all the way around. So you'll do the bottom first, and then as you go all the way around, you're going to then do your next row, and don't put it there, put it about halfway, okay? Because then it will cover up the halfway point, and it will go all the way around. Let me back up 1 step. So if we could have rewound the tape, I would have told you to go ahead and put the rubber bands on first. So you would hold a rubber band, take your stapler, and you just put it halfway over it, maybe, and you staple it like that. It just takes 1 staple, and that will hold that on there. And if you do the other side, see, if you do it too late like I did just now, you're going to see it when you're doing your beard pieces. So I don't want to see that on this side, so I was lucky that I could just go ahead and cover that right up, okay? But if you do it ahead of time, you don't even have to worry about it. Then as you finish it all off, you will come up with a beard like this. Now you can notice that these are a little different, right? And not only is the color different, which if you want to use a different color, that's fine. But the way I made it kind of bumpy and lumpy is you just took a piece and then I just pinched it and I folded it and folded it and folded it, and then I opened it back up. So if you want to do that, you could also take it and you could just squish it, right? You can just squish it like that and open it back up. It just makes it a little more wavy like a beard would look. But that's up to you. So when you get done, go ahead and you get them rubber bands, put them back on, and you can have your Esau beard. It looks really good. And we know that if you needed a costume for trick-or-treat or just wear around the house, you could do that. Okay, so then we got one other project inside of your bag, and it's just a type like a puzzle. It's this one right here. It says God's plan, and then it has all these things that say sin and mistakes on the back. And I'm going to challenge you because you're supposed to cut this out. So the best way is just to cut off the edges first, because it wants you to make a square. Okay? And I went ahead and cut all these pieces out, and they're right here. But they want you to go ahead and put it together, not looking at, they want you to put it together using these words, and it was really hard for me. I'm just going to be honest, it was hard. So if you want to just make it work, you can flip them over, right? And then you can use the words that say God's plan, and you can put it all together that way. And then what they want you to do is actually tape it together. So every time you get something, you can just tape the piece and put it back together. And if you want to color each of those like a brown or a gray color, because we know that sin is not good, right? And yet we know that mistakes, God can use it all and he can work through it, so those don't have to be a bad color, they can be fun. But this was just as hard doing it this way, so I'm going to finish this real quick. My watch goes off. And, I mean, I would like to know who of you could do this on the other side, because it was very tricky. But I know that you guys can, because you're much better at probably puzzles than I am. All right, so I'm just going to finish this off real quick. And then when we flip it over, of course, the point that we're trying to make with this one is that there's a lot of times that we just mess things up. And we do make mistakes, and we do the things that are sinful in our lives. God can forgive us of them. And the best part is that God's plan, it doesn't mess up God's plan. So even those, all these little different ones can make a difference in our lives. And like Miss Evelyn said, there can be consequences, and we have to work through those or live with those consequences. But it's all a big picture of God's plan, and he can make it work out for us. So I hope you remember that. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. That's your verse for this week. Go ahead and try them and let me know who was able to put it together on this side without looking. That would be awesome. All right, you guys have a great week.